Welcome back to another episode of the What We Gonna Do podcast. I am your host, AJ. I always feel like, there's just too little time and so many ideas. This episode hopefully won't be too long, but I guess we'll see. I'm gonna try to keep it short, but y'all know how I do. You can find me on social media at What We Gonna Do Pod. That's GONE. If you would like me to be a guest on your show or speak as a panelist, host a Twitter talk or live, email me whatwegonado@gmail.com or hit me on Twitter in the DMs or hit me on IG in the DMs. You know what I mean? Just hit me up. I'm available. I'm trying to move around, I guess. You know what I mean? Just kind of reach out and touch to different people, especially people that been thinking about it. I honestly did not think, too many people would even want me on their shows and stuff like that. But I talked about that when I did the What We Gonna Do story. And, I'm appreciative of everybody who has allowed me to share some space with them and those individuals who have came onto my show, this year. Definitely appreciate them. All right, we're going to jump right into this one. Y'all saw the title, but let me just reiterate it. Confrontation is good. Maybe not all the time, but, most of the time, confrontation is good. This came about because I've recently just kind of thought about several different scenarios, and I realized that, man, people are not like me. Like, everybody is not confrontational. And I'm not the most confrontational person, but at the same time, I really don't like to beat around the bush. I like to just go ahead and nip stuff in the bud or don't even deal with it or whatever. Sometimes I could be thinking the wrong way about this, but overall, I think, confrontation is good. You know what I mean? Just depending on who it is. Now, some things obviously a little bit more sensitive than others, but I still think at some point, you got to go ahead and knock it out. Now, we're going to break this down into different pieces, starting with avoidance. This is the main thing that, I feel like most people do. Most people will avoid something until they hit their deathbed or whatever. You know what I mean? And then it just kind of comes out. The first question I ask myself is why? You know what I mean? Why is that pretty much everybody's kind of, fallback? Man, let me just avoid it. Whether it's my wife, my kids, whoever it is, let me just avoid it. Even if it's, my boss or something like that. Like, it's kind of like the easiest thing to do, but obviously when you avoid something, it never gets addressed or it builds up, it festers. This is something people have talked about time and time again. And again, I'm more direct. But before I even talk about me being direct, I sit there and I look at it and I'm like, okay, people will literally go and talk to everybody around them. I mean, they will tell a person how they feel. Obviously not the person that they have an issue with, but usually they're going to tell somebody else. And then I get to the point, I'm like, yo, what are you going to do about it or whatever? Because I feel like you beating a dead horse and you might as well stop talking about it. Like, I don't get the whole talking for the sake of talking. And I know people feel like, okay, well, it's better out than in. And if I can just get it out here, then, yada, yada, yada. And of course, people use Twitter in that kind of way or whatever sometimes, you know what I mean? Just to get it out. But I want to know from y'all, you know what I mean? What do y'all think as far as it relates to avoidance and why people avoid confrontation? Even if it's something serious, you know what I mean? We avoid calling the police. And I don't even want to get that far, that deep as far as stuff like that or whatever. But just in general, man, like it's in most people's nature to sit there and be like, okay, look, whether it's on the timeline, whether it's on IG stories, or whether it's in person, I will just keep this going on. We'll have a full-blown relationship with a person, a person, y'all cool, but you avoid having those tough conversations. We had a meeting at work where they talked about that. Now, this was from a management perspective and just talking about how to deal with your peers, how to manage your manager, and just different stuff like that, because you can definitely rub people the wrong way, even if that is not your intention, or even if it's not even about rubbing them the wrong way. It's like, all right, we got to get this fixed. We got to get this resolved. And sometimes you just got to do it. You just got to hit it on the head. You just got to do it. You really can't worry about the repercussions. In my mind, you have to take that chance. I don't have the time, frankly, to just sit there and wait and maybe see if you will address it before I address it or whatever. So avoidance is kind of, that first step. Got to get that avoidance out the way. It also makes me think, okay, and I think I might have said, just a minute ago or whatever, but I be really wondering, do people just think that stuff is just going to go away, that it's going to settle, that it's going to be water under the bridge? And yes, I do agree with taking time, especially if you're angry, instead of lashing out to try to sit there and think. I mean, again, it's real easy for us to go ahead and attack the situation, attack that person, but it takes discipline to be able to okay, I want to tackle this, but let me just chill real quick, and then I'm going to come back around when I got a little bit more sense, and then I'm going to go ahead and deal with it. And I was going to go through this piece by piece, but I'm just going to give it to y'all or whatever. You go from avoidance to pretty much, the elephant in the room. Like I say, avoidance is kind of the main thing. I feel like this is just kind of like the go-to. That's what everybody do. You know what I mean? I don't know exactly where that gets people. Just avoiding stuff. Again, that kind of irks me because I feel like at some point we got to address it. We got to go ahead and get this shit out. We got to go ahead and move forward. But that works for some people. Don't work for me. I don't really like the elephant in the room, whether it's my wife, whether it's my family, even though I'm more observant than talkative, honestly, because I will, go to a family event and I'll pretty much just kind of take it in or whatever. You know what I mean? Even if I'm feeling some type of way, I will be around people because sometimes you got to be around people, boyfriends and husbands and brothers and whoever, you know what I mean? Not that I have a brother, I'm just saying like other people's brothers or whatever. Let's say cousins or something like that, or it could be even homeboys or whatever. Sometimes you're going to be in rooms where you really need to kind of, see what the room is feeling like. But at the same time, it's like, all right, let's go ahead and get this elephant out the room. And when I say that, it's only in situations where, again, you either, putting me in a situation where I got to be around some people, or it's a situation where I don't know I'm going to be around some people or whatever. So I'm usually the person, like literally, I will go over and I will talk to that person. You know what I mean? I'll greet them, give them a head nod, whatever the case may be, just to go ahead and get it out the way. Now, if I don't mess with you, I don't mess with you or whatever. You know what I mean? But I really haven't had that too much over the years, outside of like when I was in high school and stuff like that. But as I've gotten older, I don't run into them scenarios where I run into somebody I'm beefing with. And usually, even when I did run into people that I used to beef with, we have a conversation and we keep it, we keep it going like that. What's kind of funny when it comes to like my family. So say for instance, like my mom, I will, we could be on the phone, we could be in text messages, and the older I've gotten, the more outspoken I've gotten, especially with my mother. Like if I see something that she's not doing right, or if I see something that I feel like she needs to do better, I'm not her parent by any means. Y'all know I love my mama. She has done so much for me. So when I do confront her and I do talk about those things that are kind of awkward, that are kind of like, okay, am I overstepping my bounds as a son? It's because I care for her. It's not anything other than that. It's like, all right, look, you need to be doing this better. You need to be doing, I feel like that doesn't stop. And I know that our older people, they're hard-headed, and I think I've talked about it before, but they don't like to listen. A lot of them, they get stagnant. They feel like what they're doing now is going to be what they're doing for the rest of their lives, and they're kind of settled. They've settled with raising kids and going to the job every day and making sure this bill is paid. It's kind of like a mundane lifestyle. But with my mom, I continue to push her. Like when I feel like she's slacking, when I feel like she's trying to avoid something, I go ahead and hit her on the head. And my mom, she would tell me, she like, boy, well, I can't do nothing about that now. What's done is done. I'm like, yeah, mama, you can't do nothing about that now, but you should have took care of it then. Now we got to talk about the future. Like literally, I will sit there and go back and forth with my mom, and I will kind of strategically try to plan out, okay, when you get your refund check, when you do this, when you do that, take care of this, do this, you're looking for this type of job, I'll help her with her resume, whatever the case may be. But that's just something I do with my mother, even if it's awkward. Even if I feel like, okay, I don't know if I should touch this. It could be living situation. It could be relationship or whatever. I feel like I need to go ahead and touch it. Same thing with my wife. Obviously with my wife, this is somebody that you deal with every day. So you can have those elephants in the room literally every day that you deal with somebody, as far as being married. You can have those different elephants in the room as long as you're married to somebody. And I have to kind of pick and choose, and I'll talk a little bit more about this, but I definitely like to get it out the way, especially as I'm getting older. Me and my wife have been married 10 years, and I be wanting to move on from stuff. Sometimes I will be stubborn, sometimes I will be petty and all this type of stuff, but other times I'm like, yo, I don't have no reason to lie. I don't have no reason to avoid this. Let's go ahead and knock it out. But even for her, it may be uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Because we could go to work in the morning a certain type of way. We could get off a certain type of way, and I'm trying to go ahead and do it. Like, let's get with the shits. You know what I mean? If it's going to turn up, let's go ahead, turn up, and then we'll see where we go from here or whatever. But again, because you with that person every day, it's like, man, you also don't want to do that every day. You know what I mean? With your significant other, it's just not good. It's not healthy or whatever. But when you're in a relationship with somebody long enough, there will be elephants in the room. There will be things that you've talked about till you're blue in the face that still have not gotten resolved. And it's like, okay. Or there will be friend situations. There will be family situations. There'll be, whatever little situations where it's like, all right, we need to talk about this. It could even be, financial with bills, or it could be just with spending money or something like that. And yes, it's awkward. And some people may not want to have those conversations. Some people may not even have those conversations. They will just trust that their partner is taking care of it, that their partner is handling it. But I would advise you to get over that and confront that person. Do not avoid it. Do not ignore it. Pay attention to the signs and have that conversation. And I would say for people who are dating, you need to get that type of stuff out the way up front. Don't just let people get away with murder. Don't just let the elephant kind of stay in the room and occupy space. Start building up that dialogue with your significant other so that you can grow from there, opposed to avoiding it. And it's just going to take longer for it to grow and develop into a better form of communication, a better form of comprehension on both sides. Now, temperature checks is something that I really just have to do on an as needed basis, because again, people can say what they want to say online. People can say what they want to say to you via text. People can say what they want to say to you over the phone. People can say what they want to say to you through another person. And I don't care if it's work related. I don't care if it's family. Let's go ahead and check the temperature. Do you got a problem with me? Like, I'm really going to pull up, because we can escalate this. You know what I mean? If it's work, I'm going to handle it professionally. But it's like, it's only so much stuff I'm going to take. Like, you're not going to talk to me a certain type of way. And then I'm trying to feel, I be trying to see, like, if you really got an issue or whatever. Let me see. Because, again, when you're at work, especially, for me, being a black man, just like y'all talk about, just like y'all women talk about the angry black woman, of course, there's this thing, obviously, stigma with the black man being like a super predator or whatever, like we just dangerous, we volatile. I mean, there is an angry black man thing. People don't like to talk about it. It's kind of like old news at this point, but especially in the workplace, again, I'm 6'4", I'm a pretty tall, pretty big guy or whatever, especially in the workplace. You have to be mindful. You're dealing with, white people, people of other races or whatever. They're shorter than you, they littler than you, whatever the case may be. And it's like, all right, I don't want to be intimidating, but at the same time, don't fucking play with me or whatever. You know what I mean? So I gotta kind of get out of character, as I call it. I don't like to get out of character, especially at work, but sometimes I have to. I have to check people's temperature and like let them know what it is. Like, hey, look, I'm trying to be cool, but if we was outside of work right now, I probably fuck you up. Like, you wouldn't even be talking to me this way if we was outside of work. But of course, we at work. You feel comfortable. You think it's okay. I always try to come to people professionally and, handle stuff a certain type of way. But people will kind of play at work, especially when you're dealing with people that are older than you. They don't like that. I feel like I've heard different people talk about it. I know this was a big conversation in the workplace as far as like, you always kind of have that tension until you work with a person for a certain amount of years, where it's kind of like the old person versus the new person. You taking my job, or I don't like having to work with a kid, or, anybody that's younger than them, they kind of consider a kid or whatever. But it's like, look, at this age, at my big age of 32, you are going to respect me as a man. I don't care if you somebody grandpa. I don't care if you somebody great grandpa. I'll be honest. I don't give a fuck who you is. You're going to respect me as a grown man, and I'm going to respect you as a grown man. So it's got to be mutual. If it's not mutual, then we got a problem, and we gonna take care of that. And the same thing goes for family or whatever. You know what I mean? If I have to be in a situation where I got to be around you, and again, I talked about the whole elephant in the room, let me go ahead and check the temperature, since I already know we got a certain type of thing going on or whatever. And this could even be with my sister or whatever. Like, my sister has a problem where, and this is for the oldest one or whatever. If y'all listen to Sister, go back, check that out. But anyway, this is for the oldest one or whatever, where she will avoid me. Like, instead of like confronting something, she will avoid me. And we've worked on that. We've gotten better over the years, but it still happens from time to time where my sister will literally go 0 dark 30. Like, I can't get in touch with her. I don't know where to find her. I don't know if she's all right. And it's because she doesn't like having those tough conversations. She don't like me checking her temperature. Like, yo, what's going on? Are you doing all right? Is there a problem? Are you getting back into some negative stuff or whatever? Like, she don't necessarily like that, but often I got to check with her. And again, I don't waste no time. As soon as we get on the phone, I'll be like, hey, man, where the fuck you been? Like, where you been at? I ain't heard from you. What's going on? You don't, like, you got a problem? Like, what's up? You got a problem or something? You know what I mean? And this is for a few different people, where it's like, when I feel something is a little bit funny, it's certain people that I talk to on the phone, that I hang out with, where I'm going to just hit them up, and I'm going to just hit them. You know what I mean? I'm going to check the room and be like, hey, what's up? You know what I mean? Do we got a problem or something? And they'll do the same with me. Like, if they ain't heard from me, they ain't this, that, and the third. And, we'll get it settled. But it's like immediate. Like I say, I'm not doing all this beating around the bush type of stuff with certain people. Like, we just going to go ahead, get it out the way. Like I said, as far as, we're going to go ahead, get it out the way. Then we're going to move on from there. I do believe that there is a time and place for everything as well. So I know, of course, I said this, but then you do have some things that are more sensitive. I know that there was a conversation I was supposed to have with my young uncle multiple times, and I kind of avoided it, because I try to live by example instead of just hitting it head on. And then you have different people that want you to talk to people a certain type of way. You know what I mean? Your grandma will say, don't talk to him this way. Your wife will say, don't talk to him this way. Oh, don't tell him about this. And I'm not really good with all of that. Like, I will literally just call people up and just say what it is, and I'll say who told me. And people don't necessarily like that. I had to do that with my homeboy one time, where literally I had to hit him up about a situation. And the first thing we did when we got on the phone, because I'm already seeing it as a red flag, other people is concerned. And so when we get on the phone, because I waited for a bit, like I waited probably like a good 6 months. You know what I mean? Because that's usually what happens. And I tell people, hey, I'm going to address it, but I'm going to address it in time. You know what I mean? Right now, it's just not the right time. So I'll get some information. I'll kind of sit on it. I'll kind of think about it. I'll kind of build up to it. And then it's like, all right, boom. Now we at the time and we at the place where it's like, all right, let's go ahead and get this out the way. You sure about this? You know what I mean? And it could be a decision they're making. It could be something that they're thinking about. It could be a relationship that they're in. But people typically call on me to address people because they may not know how to get across to these people. They may not know how to communicate with these people, but they know that people listen to me. I've done it with my brother-in-law, you know what I mean? As far as having to sit him down, my sister-in-law. I've done it with quite a few different people as far as like, all right, Now we're getting to this time and place. Let's go ahead and talk about this. Let's get it out the way. Let's move on or whatever. But you got to know when to hold them. You got to know when to fold them. You got to know what your place is and like pick your spot. It's hard to say, but I feel like, don't wait too long until like it doesn't even serve a purpose for you to kind of bring up something that somebody told you. But I also don't think, like, especially if you're not just going to tell them like who told you or something like that, that you should just come out with it or whatever. I think that there is a way to approach it, because the worst thing you can do is bring up something with somebody and it turns them off and they're not receptive to hearing. By the time that I do have conversations with my friends, and even if I'm getting on, getting on to them or whatever, I still try to do it to where, I'm sounding like a brother and a friend and not like they dad or something like that. You know what I mean? Because I want them to hear me. I would not even be having this conversation. I would not even be wasting this time if I felt like you couldn't hear me. You know what I mean? I wouldn't even be doing that. So it also makes me think about like the Rick Ross and the Maybach Music 6 and, Pusha T and Lil Wayne, even though I think that verse from Wayne was trash, but there was different speculations, this, that, and the third, and Rick Ross talked about it. He pretty much spelled it out and said, look, I sent it to Wayne first. He put the verse on there first. He cleared it first. So that's why I went ahead and, left that record on the album and took Push off or whatever. He felt like it wasn't the right time, but he wanted to bring them together. And that's another thing about a time and a place is like, okay, again, is this the right time to kind of bring this up? Is this the right time to kind of bring these two people together? You know what I mean? Because honestly, everybody is not ready. I'm not always ready or whatever to kind of address different things that are going on. But I'm more confrontational than not. I would rather not have the confrontation. I would rather not have the conversation if like it's not needed, And I think, we do get mixed up between needs and wants when it comes to these type of things. Like, okay, do you want to have this moment with this person or do you need to? Some shit is like an intervention, man. And I do think that friends need to intervene, especially us men. We need to be more outspoken. We need to hold our friends accountable more. We need to chastise them more. We don't need to just, again, avoid stuff, whether it's smoking, whether it's women, whether it's business, whether it's money, whatever, whether it's the kids, whatever it is, like, we don't need to just sit there and it's like, we communicate all the time. We meet up, we play dominoes, we shoot the shit, people smoke, people do whatever, they hoop, whatever. And us men, we do talk about real shit, whether women want to believe it or not. Like, we do talk about real shit. We do talk about, hey, man, when you going to marry such and such, when you going to do that or whatever. And again, time and place. But as friends, if you're a real friend, say what you feel. You know what I mean? Don't let your homeboy be in some shit because you trying to avoid something or you trying to avoid falling out. I feel like, man, if you really got friends and y'all really bump heads, y'all still gonna be friends if y'all real friends or whatever, man. People gonna have disagreements. That's life. You gonna have disagreements. You gonna have falling outs. But I think if you can get to that point, again, it does not happen through avoidance. You don't get to this point of having a better conversation with whoever it is by avoiding it and just hoping that both people mature. No, you get to this by steadily and consistently refining that conversation and figuring out, okay, how do I talk to this person? How do I communicate with this person? Okay, this person knows how I am. They know what I mean by this. They know when I'm serious. They know this, they know that. You don't get through that without dialogue. I'm sorry, it's a necessary evil. If you are uncomfortable, you need to work on that because you need to talk to your people. Whether it's your coworker, your manager, your friend, or your family, or even your child. It is not a good thing to just avoid stuff and then years pass by. You could have saved somebody's life. You could have turned somebody around. You could have taken a relationship from a bad situation and put it into a good situation, but you chose to be the scapegoat instead of responding to it and taking action to just allow it and just keep on going on with your life. But you know better. I talked about this on Twitter recently, that I had to bury some hatchets. And this was very confrontational for me, because it's like, okay, I've been thinking about this off and on for a while, and it needs to happen because as I'm getting older, I got a daughter that's going to be 6 in December. I need to start kind of rebuilding some things that I never had before people leave this world. Especially, when I sit there and think about, okay, is it over some petty stuff? Like, is it over some small stuff? So I wrote about it on Twitter a few weeks ago, whatever, that had 4 people on my list that I was reaching out to. So go ahead, like these are people who I fell out with, that I didn't have problems, whatever. And I'm kind of ready to reconcile and let it be what it is. Like, either it's going to be good or either it's going to be what it already is, where we don't communicate. And it's kind of sad because these are 4 people I won't say 4 people I was very close with, but some of these people, 2 are family, 2 are friends or whatever. And so it's just like, you would think naturally you're supposed to be close. Like, let's say hypothetically, not hypothetically, but 2 friends was my homeboys back in the day or whatever, knowing from college, but we had falling outs for different reasons. 2 family members, 1 family member I never had much of a relationship with. Another family member, is somebody I thought should have been something different to me in my life, but that never really happened. So to be specific, because again, I already talked about it on Twitter or whatever, but it was 2 homeboys, and then it was my uncle, and then it was my grandfather. So what I did one day was, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to finally get over it. I'm going to face my fear. And it ain't even necessarily fear. It's kind of just like, man, when I'm done, I'm done. Like, I really don't care to even revisit a conversation or anything like that. So I finally, after years and years, I said I'm going to confront it. So what I did was, I tried to call everybody first, except for one person that I couldn't call. So I shot him a text, but I tried to call, then text, because I wanted to make sure these people's numbers were still good. And I got everybody's number from, I got everybody's number. So I knew, okay, these are good numbers, because I ain't talked to these people in a while. Like, I may have talked to my uncle in person, but I didn't have the number on my phone anymore or whatever. I had this one person number sit in my phone for like 3 years or whatever. This person that hit me up, I didn't hit them up, whatever the case may be. Another person I ain't talked to in like 9 or 10 years or whatever. Another person, it's just been a couple of years since I talked to him or whatever. So I called everybody. Whoever didn't pick up, I sent them a little message, kind of letting them know some information, just hitting them up, and just telling them, hey, give me a call when you get a chance. So to my surprise, I think I heard back from one homeboy. Text me back. My grandfather actually called me. Me and my grandfather had the longest conversation that we've had in life. At the end of the conversation, he told me he loved me, which was very surprising because I've never heard this man say he loved me in his life. So I told him I love him back, because me and him, I'm not going to give y'all the whole rundown or whatever, but I say, damn, I am his grandson, because it took until the final moment before we hung up the phone for him to say, I love you. And I said it back to him right before we got off the phone or whatever, because otherwise we was just going to get off the phone. I was going to be like, all right, nigga, well, goodbye. You know what I mean? Peace. And it was a good conversation. But there's so much that I don't know about my grandfather. I mean, we literally have never had a relationship. And this is my father's father. I have a great relationship with my grandmother, zero relationship with my grandfather. Of course, yes, they're separated. My grandfather got remarried like 20 years ago. I didn't even know this man had been married for like 20 something years or whatever. So think about that. What is that? A third or however much of my life or whatever. This man's been married, and I literally had no idea. I would see him at Thanksgiving, and, we would talk about the football games and different stuff like that. It's kind of like just grandpa stuff. He might send me a little Christmas card or something like that, but me and him never just sat down. Like, you grow up thinking one thing, and I talked about this in some other episodes, but you think that your family is going to be like your family. You think like, man, my grandfather is going to be a grandfather. My father is going to be this. My uncle is going to be this. My sister's going to be this. My aunt is going to be this. And then you get to the reality that these people are people just like you, and, you know, it's not TV. You know what I mean? So it was a big deal for me to hit him up, and I appreciated him actually calling me back. So he called me back. Another homeboy hit me. I didn't hear from another homeboy for about 4 or 5 days, you know, the other homeboy. And I was like, damn, you know what I mean? Because 3 of those people, they weren't in the wrong. I felt like, you know, they weren't in the wrong. And, you know, I felt like they should have reached out to me, or they could have reached out to me. This one homeboy, this other guy, I was in the wrong, and it was time for me to reach out to him because I wasn't the friend that I should have been. I was young. I wasn't thinking about it. And he's the friend, like I did to him what I talk about everybody else for doing. Like, he would hit me up just trying to shoot the shit, just trying to catch up or whatever, and I would always be busy. You know what I mean? But again, it was subconscious. I wasn't even thinking about it. And then eventually, I just couldn't get in touch with him or whatever. And I'm not going to go through each story of, you know, kind of how we fell out, but I did fall out pretty much with all 4 of these people or whatever for different reasons. But with him, like I said, it was a little bit different, and I felt bad because by the time I realized the type of friend I had been, it was too late. You know, I should have done better in that situation, man. You know what I mean? I would literally, he would hit me up and I would just forget about hitting him back, like, for a long period of time. And he would hit me up again, he would hit me up again. And I've talked about this before, where I've been this type of person in my life where I'm the one that's always reaching out. I'm the one always communicating. If I stop communicating, then me and this person will have no relationship or whatever. And in this instance with this homeboy, he was that guy where he was always reaching out to me. And if he stopped reaching out to me, then we ain't gonna have no relationship. There's no, you know, communication. And so eventually I do hear from him, and, you know, we chop it up. I sent him a couple pictures of, you know, my wife and my daughter, and, you know, just catching up. He sent me some pictures. Kids look just like him. You know what I mean? So that was definitely a good conversation. And me and him, we still got to link up. Now, the other homeboy, he texted me back, and then I was like, I couldn't talk that day. So we ended up talking the next day, and we got everything settled. I thought there was an issue. I thought there was a problem. He said it was a miscommunication. We broke bread. We let that shit go. We squashed it. We moved on. I said, I'm done. He said his piece. I said my piece, and that was it. Me and him actually linked up after that, went out to a bar, and shit, we had a good ass time or whatever, you know what I mean? We went out to, what is it called? Bombshells. If y'all come out here, or if y'all come to Houston or Dallas, make sure y'all go to Bombshells. That's all I'm gonna say. Make sure y'all go to Bombshells. So we went out to Bombshells, had a good time, and we caught up even more, just talking about what's been happening over the past, like, me and this dude ain't talked in probably like 5 or 6 years. So we just catching up, man. What happened after this? Oh, man, marriage. This is it. Like, we just catching up or whatever, man. And it was just a good conversation. Like, we look a little bit older, but he's still the same person I remember from college. I'm still, like, I'm different now, you know what I mean? But it's like, we know each other. It ain't necessarily like we picked up where we left off, but we picked up at a good place, you know what I mean? So he hit me up this past weekend. We was trying to go out, but it just didn't work out or whatever. But he ain't that far. So 2 of these guys, the 2 friends, they not really that far. The person who y'all have not heard me talk about is my uncle. So I hit my uncle up because I had to ask him for my grandfather's number because I didn't have my grandfather's number. So I hit him up. I call him. He don't answer or whatever, which I ain't tripping because I know he be at work. So I text him. He texts me back, and he sent me my grandfather's number. Now, I told him to call me. To this day, me and my uncle have still not had that call. And I probably talked about it, on social media a little bit. Like, men will avoid something. Like, I don't even know where the tweet is. I'm not even going to try to pull it up right now. But people in your family or your friends who have hurt you will avoid it as long as they can. They will avoid you. They will avoid that conversation as long as they can until they are forced to have that conversation. And again, these are people who have hurt you. You haven't done it. Like, it's not on you. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay. And even when you reach out to those people, so let's say, man, you get past a certain point, you build up enough courage to be like, you know what, F it. Even though this person has wronged me, I'm going to reach out to them. Like, you extend that olive branch. You try to be the bigger person and you get the same type of energy. And it's like, damn, I'm not really tripping because I honestly did not expect anything from any of these 4 individuals. But I am glad because now I've reconnected with 3 out of 4 and I'm still working on 4 because at this point I feel like, man, we too old to carry on those toxic family things. You know what I mean? It's like the men in my family is a certain type of way. They're manly men. They don't like to show emotions. They don't like to do this. And I'm past that, man. Like, I got a daughter. For those of you who are new, I live in Texas. Now I used to live in Arkansas or whatever. So me and my wife, we alternate holidays between going, doing stuff here in Texas with my wife's family and doing stuff in Arkansas with my family or whatever. So anyway, I'm just trying to mend this relationship. Our relationship has always been broken. I mean, this is the man who told me that my father passed. And he told it to me in such a direct and no type of emotional type of way or whatever. Like, he just got on the phone and just told me. You know what I mean? And he been that way. He's that way with his kids. And, it's something to where, again, if somebody show you who they are, believe them or whatever. And so my uncle has shown me who he is, but I feel like it's time for a change. And I am an advocate that you sometimes have to be the change that you want to see. So again, me as a man and getting older, I'm like, I need to have a relationship with my grandfather. I need to mend these fences with my friends, people I consider my best friends, like people who is like my family. And then again, I need to mend these relationships with my family, like my uncle. Like, this is, my father is no longer here. You are his brother. Y'all got the same mom, y'all got the same dad or whatever, same last names. I got the same last name as y'all. And me and you have no relationship. So I did text him when my daughter started her first day of school, and he actually texted me back or whatever. So we have talked that way. But again, me and him need to get on the phone, or we need to meet in person, and we really need to get this over with, because I really want to let him know how I feel. And I don't think he want to do that. You know what I mean? But I'm like, yo, we got a common thing to talk about, man, because once my father passed, you could have been there for me. You know what I mean? You could have supported me. You could have stepped up, and you didn't. You've let me down time and time again in my life as far as getting married and all of this. My uncle has let me down time and time again, but it's like, here I am extending it again. I'm past the point of expecting anything back, because that used to hurt me. That used to make me feel a certain type of way or whatever. I'm just trying. If it don't work out, it don't work out. It don't hurt me none, because I'm already good or whatever. I'm good with who I am and where I'm at this point in life. But it would be nice to go ahead and just figure out, man, damn, bro, can you just let down your guard? Can you just let it go and be my fucking uncle? So anyway, the moral of the story is, overall, I do think that confrontation is good. I think that it is healthy. I think that it is necessary. And I think that it helps you build up resilience. It helps you face your fears. And, again, like I said, resilience, toughness, grit, fortitude, whatever other words that you want to use. I do believe that it helps in many capacities as far as your growth as a person. You hear about all these different stories of people who are stagnant. Again, people who have avoided things in their life out of whatever the case may be, and they cannot move forward. They're in their 30s, they're in their 40s, they're in their 50s, and then what happens when these people pass away? the people that you want to confront, the people that you want to get your shit out. What happens when they gone, man? You know what I mean? You got to die with that. I ain't trying to die with mine. You know what I mean? If I can avoid it, like, I ain't trying to die with mine. I'm trying to break any curses. I'm trying to break any chains. I'm trying to break any generational things. I do not want to continue this vicious cycle. I've talked about vicious cycles, and somebody has to break that. So for you to do that, and for you to build up the ability to do that consistently, you need to have those tough conversations, and you need to confront the elephants in the room. You need to check people's temperatures. You need to figure out when is the right time and place. You need to take that initiative and do that. My friend, I think I've talked about it before, but he reconnected with his birth father because he took a step. And that allowed them now to have cultivated a relationship that they did not have for over 20 years. This individual had been gone from my friend's life for the majority of his life, and they've now been able to reconnect. I know people talk about that like, hey, man, F this person, F that. But sometimes, man, you only get one of these people in your lives. And sometimes it might be good. Again, you know, if you can stomach it, to go ahead and reach out. And I think on Twitter a while back, Flaw had talked about it, like on the Podcast Brothers, and I brought it back up on Twitter or whatever. And usually, and for the most part, historically, I'm not the one that's reaching back. I'm not trying to look back at the past. I'm not forgetting anything. I might forgive people to myself, but I'm not trying to do none of that. Like, I don't feel obligated to. And even now, I don't feel obligated to. But I think that if you can just, you know, regardless of what it is, man, if you can get it up, the energy to do it, go ahead and do that shit, man. For your mental health, for your child, for your whatever. You know what I mean? I won't even say peace of mind, because you may never get peace of mind, but I think you can get peace to yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you can be like, I did this, I tried, I stepped out. The show started a little bit rocky, but I hope it finished better than it started. And again, hopefully this isn't too long, but this was just something, that kind of just popped into my head or whatever. Remember, y'all can find me at What We Gonna Do Pod. That's on Instagram and Twitter. Email me, whatwegonado@gmail.com. Again, if you would like me to be a guest on your show, a Twitter talk, a live, whatever the hell it is, a panel, hit me up, or feel free to DM me. I am checking all DMs. All right, that's it. I ain't gonna talk no more. Y'all have a good rest of the day. Peace.